Yo, what is up? What is up, YouTube boxing family? It is Zach K right here. I'm back with another tremendous video for you guys today. I wanted to talk about Mr. Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder versus Robert Helenius. This is my early fight prediction breakdown of this fight. I think this makes a great style matchup. Not only for Deontay Wilder to heavily display his improvements with Malik Scott, I feel like this is just a new added version of Deontay Wilder, in which I think Deontay Wilder is going to come out and do something that he's not really, showing that many people of what he can actually do. And I think Robert Helenius will be that perfect veteran style matchup where Deontay Wilder will have a litmus test of seeing where he is after the Tyson Fury, you know, uh, like Tyson Fury losses that shouldn't have been losses to begin with. Obviously, without the cheating stuff, but I think with Deontay Wilder coming back in this type of fight, this is a great fight. I think Deontay Wilder is coming to knock out Robert Helenius, and I don't see Robert Helenius being this type of heavily fisted puncher to really hurt Wilder. I mean, yes, he did look good against Adam Kaunaki, but that was well over a year ago. So the only reason why I can ever see Wilder fighting Helenius is because Helenius, either he can't get a fight because nobody don't want to fight him, or he was waiting for the perfect opportunity to go ahead and be a setup fight for Deontay Wilder, which I think that's a really massive risk on his end, because it's like, I respect Robert Helenius. I think he should have been, there at the world title stage of like a very long time ago. But obviously, due to several matchups that he has been in through the PBC, roster stable, I will say that PBC really did a very great job matching him up extremely tough, and that's what makes him look way better, especially at a much older age. But imagine that same Robert Helenius that was in the same prime as Deontay Wilder, and imagine this fight being set up, earlier in their careers. I think this fight was well overdue. I think this is a great matchup, not only because Robert Helenius has sparred Deontay Wilder. He understands what Wilder can do, but can he really take the right hand? That's really going to be the main question. And it's not only Wilder's right hand. Wilder has deadly power. It's basically equivalent to, Mortal Kombat, where if Onaga touches you, he basically turns your life, turns your life to a different mode in which you can't survive anymore. So that's how I see Deontay Wilder. He's basically like Onaga in Mortal Kombat mixed with, Jackson Shao Kahn combined. But I mean, I'll probably even use like, Raiden for that manner. But I like to use Raiden and Liu Kang for Devin Haney. And then Scorpion would be like, Errol Spence. And then Gervonta would be Shao Kahn, and Shinnok would be I don't even know about Shinnok. I think I'm gonna put Shinnok out of the question, but you kind of get the whole gist. I could like, dude, if I was like a animator, oh my god, I would put so much effort into just a Mortal Kombat boxing series. That would be so funny. I would just use Deontay Wilder as Onaga, and then I would use Gervonta as Scorpion, and I'll probably use like, I don't know, somebody else's Sub-Zero. I'll probably use Shakur as a Sub-Zero. That would be real funny. I mean, I could get really creative on my channel, but it's just like the time and resources that I would have to use. Um, it would take too much time, so I like to keep it raw up on these videos, and I like having fun because that's what I like to do. Um, but yeah, how I see this fight going down, I think Wilder's gonna knock out Helenius. I mean, Helenius, he's been at the world title stage, being held up at the world title stage for quite a long time. So a win over Wilder would definitely put Helenius back on top. And not to mention Robert Helenius, if I'm not mistaken, he's ranked number 2 out of the WBA. So this is obviously a huge heavyweight title, eliminator fight of wherever these rankings are going to shape, the division. But if Wilder does end up being victorious, which I do expect Wilder to be victorious, but it's not going to be easy. I think due to the unnecessary, disgusting damage that Wilder got from Fury from the second and third fight, that's the only thing that concerns me in this fight. I don't care how much, Robert Helenius can punch, but I just think, like, due to the severity of that injury, I have, like, I don't know, I just have, like, a gut feeling inside the back of my mind just to think that Wilder, he might get, more exposed to the punches that are going to hurt him, that shouldn't be hurting him. And, if he is fully healed and he's able to take the shots well, where his punch resistance is still the same, but it's just that, he's older, his body needs more time to recover, and he needs to utilize more of a defensive strategy to move with his head, not getting hit with, like, hyper repetitive shots. Like, I think Wilder understands, like, the mode that he has to be in. And I mean, he is a very tall guy. It's not like Deontay Wilder is easy to hit. It's just that with Wilder's capabilities on defense, it's steady to the point where Wilder, he's able to facilitate a proper range distance where, if you're gonna try to hit him, he got something hot waiting for you, where, he will unleash the fatality tears that you want to, play the role of dice with him for. So that's just something that I can respect out of Wilder, because Deontay Wilder, he has such a great equalizer where no matter how hurt he may look, that right hand or the left hand just combined within a series of punches will easily dispute the fight in his favor. And that's what makes Wilder such a great, destructive, deadly fisted fighter, because nobody gets away from that right hand. You can't really take away the right hand, because when Deontay Wilder hits you on the glove or just anywhere to the head where you may think it's not going to hurt, but just think about it. Like, guys like Wilder, Gervonta Davis, Errol Spence, people that are deadly fisted fighters that are there to hurt you, they're not there to just, like, apply pressure. No, they're there to kill you with these shots. So these are like kill shot punches. Like, these are something that really do affect your body in the long term, in which they cause medical damage to your body. So that's really how I see Wilder's fighting style. He's a very destructive fighter, and he has every single package in the tool bag to disintegrate what you're good at. And I think that's what makes this fight so interesting, because regardless of what Helenius has been through, he hasn't been in the wars that Deontay Wilder has been through. He hasn't fought Luis King Kong Ortiz, where he came into that fight, like, super primed and ready. But, in the first fight, Deontay Wilder, he was having such a hard time trying to facilitate his jab to the point of hurting Luis King Kong Ortiz. But once they got to the late game, that's where Wilder started to, like, gas out a bit. But he started gaining his second win pretty quickly, because he has a good, mechanism of not using too much energy and stamina for what he has to do. So I think what Helenius will try to do is that, he will try anything out of his tricks to try to hurt Deontay Wilder early. And if he could try to get, like, a knockdown or something, which I don't see that happening anymore, because Deontay Wilder, he has great punch resistance. I don't know how the healing process would have been prior to him getting screwed over by Fury, but if we see a much more improved Deontay Wilder with his health, where he has more medicine to his expenditure to now take shots regularly, but he also has to utilize better defense, then Deontay Wilder can easily take over the heavyweight division. I don't care what anyone says, including Tyson Fury. He could very well improve his skills more with Malik Scott, be on a great campaign to become two-time, if not closest to undisputed as fast as possible for the heavyweight division. And I think that makes a perfect match where Deontay Wilder, if he does, complete, the journey of becoming undisputed, and if the boxing elder gods can be true that Deontay Wilder is still one of the greatest heavyweights out there that did it, the right way, and he came back a lot stronger to overarch Tyson Fury's, accomplishments, which I think at the end of the day, if he wants to try to intervene against Wilder's, campaign to being, undisputed, or let's just say like theoretically speaking, like if he defeats everybody in the heavyweight division, and let's just say he becomes undisputed, which I don't see Usyk staying around. I think Usyk, he'll probably call it quits if him and Fury get it on for undisputed, which I don't think that's happening. I think everything with the Daniel Canahan situation and all the government investigation and all this unravelment that's going on, I don't see that shit happening. But let's just say if this nonsensical fight does happen, what will happen is that the winner of undisputed will go ahead and probably retire, because it's like you don't have anything else left to do other than just go back to what you do normally and just sit around and chill. So I think Fury, he's going to be out of the picture very soon. I don't really trust Fury's words anyway. I don't see him returning. And I think that everything that's unraveling on his, legal situation of what's going on with the Canahan, criminal, mafia ties, I think that's what's going to make everyone not like Fury more. And I think Fury, he's on basically life support with his career. I don't think he's going to get all this money that he thinks that he's going to make with Usyk, because Alexander Usyk does not sell. He is a good fighter, but he's never been, at the highest level of being paid pay-per-view. So either way, it doesn't really matter. I think Fury's career is already done, but even if he did get undisputed and Wilder got undisputed, then let's just say Fury, if he's ridiculously stupid enough to fight Wilder again in a fourth fight, and let's just say Wilder, he smokes Fury, which, I think a more better improved version of Wilder, especially at the progression that he's with Malik Scott, I think that Wilder will be a very, very bad style matchup against Fury. But either way, I just think where the timeline's going to end within a year or two, I would say, because I don't think AJ, he's going to be around. I think Anthony Joshua, he's going to continue to duck Deontay Wilder. I think Deontay Wilder is just going to run through the heavyweight division, and it's probably within less than at least 2 to 3 fights where Wilder gets close to reaching a, undisputed reign. But even if Fury wants to try to interfere or try to fight Wilder, if he hits undisputed, and let's just say it'll be the battle of undisputed kings, which that would be a really interesting fourth fight if Wilder Fury ever get back in it. But I would favor Wilder, because he would have way better experience than Fury, not being heavily disciplined and him not thinking straight mentally and physically. It just gives Wilder more leverage to just to to study what he did wrong and just go back in there and get the job done. And I think that makes perfect sense, because it's like, arguably, even if Wilder did win undisputed and Fury wanted to get his get back against him and say, look, I'm gonna beat you up again in the fourth fight, but if Wilder heavily accepts it and then he beats his ass, then that arguably means Wilder was he was already better than Fury. But for him to do it as the undisputed champion, that's really gonna speak a lot more volumes after, it's all said and done. But it all starts with this fight with Robert Helenius. And I'm not overlooking, Helenius. I think Helenius could easily upset Wilder, but I don't see it happening. I think Wilder, he's gained so much experience and way better training, from the past year of him, building with his family, not always thinking about boxing, but just keeping it, just straightforward. Like, that's what a Deontay Wilder focus, very humbled, in the outside life. Obviously not, not in the sport. You always have to be killer instinct all the time. But think about it. Deontay Wilder is such a dangerous fighter in such a mellow, chill attitude mode. So imagine that at the world title level, or at the highest level in boxing, where Wilder doesn't think about that, and he's still getting better despite all the crazy nonsensical crap that he had to deal with Fury. Because mentally and physically, that should have drained them. That should have took Wilder's mindset away from boxing. But no, Deontay Wilder actually uplifted himself above Fury, which shows that Tyson Fury, he's mentally drained himself away from Wilder, because he knows that he's only relevant by keeping Wilder's name in his mouth. Wilder doesn't talk about Fury. Wilder doesn't give two shits about Tyson Fury. Excuse my French. But when you look at the political timeline, Wilder has been so focused, without even explaining a single word of what he's been doing in training camp. And I think it's all going to show come October 15th. And I think this is a perfect date, because you want to know why? Because Deontay Wilder is coming out fresh before the end of the year. And now, heading into the new year, it's going to speak a lot of volume. Because we were supposed to see Wilder back in, springtime, late summer. That's what I was hearing, according to Blue Blood. That's what Wilder said he wanted to do. Because after the Tyson Fury, fight, he technically was suspended by the New York State, or by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. So he was put on medical suspension for 6 to 9 months. I think it was 6 to 9 months. Usually, when any fighter does get knocked out, it's usually 9 months, if not, I probably say close upwards to a year, because 6 months doesn't seem to be a very good time frame, especially when you're trying to get your thoughts together and try to get back to your physical health to 100%. So the recovery process would be very time consuming, but especially at the heavyweight division, that probably did benefit Wilder very well, for him to take a year off and also train and focus and also be happy with his surroundings around him. So that's something that I give Wilder a lot of respect for, because that just shows that he doesn't need boxing. He doesn't give two craps about the sport, but he has such a good inner drive to it that something spiritually within him really makes him so connected to the sport. And that's just something that I like out of him, because that just shows he has a bloodline where he's built from the warrior mindset. He's not built to be a slave. He's built to be a freedom fighter. So that's just something that I respect out of Wilder, and this is a very good video that I wanted to put together, just to state my thoughts and how I see this fight. I guess I'll just finalize with how I see this fight going from round 1 all the way to round 12, I don't see this fight going the distance. I think Robert Helenius will get stopped. I don't see Deontay Wilder being susceptible, even from the injuries, if he has been resting up and being physically in shape for his preparation to become, fully healthy in his, ring return. And I think what's going to happen is just that this is going to show if Deontay Wilder has regressed in a skill or he has turned into a way different fighter under the guidance of Malik Scott. Because I think what Malik Scott is doing is that he's now putting together, the puzzle pieces of what Deontay Wilder should have been years ago, being a pure technical boxer puncher type of fighter. Because he has that style, it's just that he wasn't focused on that style. He was so focused on trying to go for the knockout, but it wasn't really that. Deontay Wilder, he could box. He has boxing IQ. He has amazing ring IQ, which is extremely underrated too. So it just shows like Deontay Wilder, he's just like, he's literally on another level if Malik Scott is giving him the right tools to actually be there. To actually be up there, at the high upper echelon. But yeah, I think Wilder's just gonna smoke Helenius. I don't see anything spectacular out of Helenius' skill set that's gonna make this fight really tough. I think Helenius will have great pressure coming into the fight, but once it gets to the late game, I think Wilder's just gonna, lure him right into a right or left hand combination, and it could easily be game over. So I'm definitely hyped for this fight. I think Wilder is going to sell Barclays Centers out, and Brooklyn is going to have a heavyweight showdown palooza crash or clash. So that's pretty much it. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think, and yeah, I'll see you guys very, very soon. So let me know what you guys think about this matchup. Do you think this is a good matchup? And yeah, I will see you guys later. So be sure to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys very, very soon. Long live Deontay Wilder. Shout out to Robert Helenius and Bomb Squad 24/7. And shout out to the mighty LDBC. And shout out to the TWT. Shout out to everybody. Alright, I'll see you guys later. Peace out. Bye.